We all like to play a certain game with ourselves, and here's the game. In fact, he says, we all play it so well that most of us don't even realize when we're playing it. And the game we play is that we convince ourselves that it's possible to get rid of the pain in our lives. Ever play that game? Right? I mean, isn't that kind of our picture of what a great life is? A great life is a life without pain, right? Life without having financial pain, relational pain, health pain. That would be a great life. And we convince ourselves that's really what life is about. But notice what he writes next. We cannot control the pain in our lives. As much as we try to, we cannot control it. What we can control is the meaning we ascribe to our pain. Think about that for a moment. We have pain, and we take medication. We do lots of stuff. We self-medicate. We do lots of stuff to try to numb the pain. But what if the better approach is to control the meaning we ascribe to that pain? Because he says, and it's that meaning that determines whether our pain causes us to suffer or not. He gives a description. If we decide that the pain of losing our job means we're doomed to be a broke failure, then we'll suffer, right? If we're losing the job, and some of us have lost jobs, right? And it's like we can kind of just get wallowing in the loss of a job, and now we don't have an income. But he says, listen, if we decide that losing our job will be the catalyst that changed our attitude towards work and responsibility, then we'll be better off for our pain. In other words, get something out of the pain. If we decide that our health problems are unfair, that we don't deserve them, then we will suffer. If we decide to see our health problems as a way to practice resilience and discipline, then we'll be better off for our pain. In every case, we can choose to avoid our pain or choose to engage our pain. When we avoid our pain, we suffer. When we engage our pain, we grow. What I love about this non-Christian, believer in God or any of that kind of stuff's approach is it actually lines up perfectly with how Jesus approached this thing we call life. Because here's something that may surprise some of you, but Jesus never promised a pain-free life. As much as we'd like to believe, no, he promised me a great life, a wonderful life. In fact, we're going to look at one of the passages that we sometimes, connect with. But while Jesus never promised a pain-free life, he did promise a meaningful one. In fact, over in John chapter 10, John remembers the story that Jesus is telling about being the good shepherd and how, the shepherd over a flock of sheep, their job is to protect the sheep at all costs, right? He's there to not only get them to where there's water and food to eat, but also to protect them at night from all the wolves and the other animals that might attack them. And Jesus describes himself as this good shepherd. And then Jesus says, I'm the one that protects this. And then Jesus says a fairly famous thing that if you've been around a place like this at any length of time, you've probably heard this statement of Jesus. He says simply this: a thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. And you don't even have to be religious to know how true this is, right? Because all of us have thieves that have come into our lives, that have stolen our sense of peace, right? That have tried to kill it, tried to destroy it, that have taken away our sense of security, our sense of identity. They have come in to steal it, to kill it, or destroy it in any way possible. And some of us have long stories, sad stories about how that happened. This thief's come in to leave us feeling empty and alone. But Jesus says, while that's true of this thief that happens, these things that steal stuff in our lives, that's not what he's about. In fact, he says, but I came to give life. I came that you might have life. Life in all of us, life in abundance. And some of us are like, yeah, Mike, finally we're at something, right? Life in abundance. That's the kind of life that Jesus has promised, right? Right there it says it. I came to give life in all its life in its abundance. That's what I'm talking about. I want some abundance in my life. But I want to remind you that Jesus was talking about quality of life. That life to the full isn't more stuff or better circumstances as much as we've kind of bought ourselves into believing that. We think abundance means more and more stuff or better stuff, right? But it's really a life of meaning and purpose found in following him that Jesus is talking about. A meaningful life. And here's the thing that we sometimes forget. Meaningful always costs something. And what if life isn't defined by how many good days we have or if it's difficulty-free? What if it's defined by the meaning and purpose found in it? Because isn't it true that you will put up a lot of stuff in life, a lot of hard stuff, if you feel like you're accomplishing a mission and a purpose, if there's some meaning to what you're trying to do? It's the foolish stuff, it's the stuff that doesn't make any sense that gets us frustrated. Because what if a life with challenges is a full life? Not the life without challenges and that we kind of imagine at times. So Jesus offers this idea, right? There's just, these thieves that tries to steal all these good things out of our lives. But he says, I've come to give you life. Not to steal those things, but to actually make those things be meaningful in life. And later, John will transition to another thing that Jesus told the disciples that is really important for us to hear. And the setting is, this is winding down. Jesus is going to be arrested pretty quickly after he says these words. He's trying to prepare his guys for what lays ahead. And as he does that, he says these words. He says, listen to me, guys. Pay attention. A time is coming when you will be scattered, each to your own home. In other words, you guys are all going to split up. You're all going to run home. And oh, by the way, guys, not only is the time coming, the time is now. It's now here. You will leave me alone, but I am not alone because the Father is with me. Now, you could read this. And again, I tell you all the time that how you read the Bible is as important as what it says in the Bible. You could read this as sort of Jesus being sarcastic to them, right? You guys have been promising to stay with me. You guys have got my back, but you know what, you're all going to scatter. I'm going to tell you ahead of time, you're all going to scatter, and you're going to leave me alone. But I'm not alone. The Father's with me. It's not like he's spiritualizing this thing. That's not Jesus' point at all. Jesus is trying to help them be prepared for what's coming. And Jesus loves these guys. He cares about these guys. And he knows that when this all happens, their sense of identity, their sense of purpose, their sense of who they were and who they've been is going to be disappeared. It's going to be destroyed. And Jesus doesn't want it to be destroyed. He wants them to understand that even though they will leave him alone, he's not alone, that he's going to be okay. He says, listen, I told you these things so that you can have peace in me. Which seems kind of weird, right? I've told you that you're going to abandon me. I've told you that, bad stuff's going to happen. You're all going to run away. Go hide from this. All you guys who have stood strong and said you would even die with me. I've told you these things so that you can have peace in me. Which ought to tell us something about sometimes the things that we face or the things we get frustrated with. Then Jesus drops this bombshell. In this world, you will have, what's the word there? Say it like you mean it. You're going to have suffering, which is one of the promises of Jesus that most of us don't go, ooh, that's the one I'm going to hold on to for this year, right? But maybe it's the one we ought to think about holding on to this year. That in this world, you will have trouble. You're going to have suffering. But don't miss that Jesus didn't say this to discourage them. He said it to prepare them. To understand that trouble doesn't mean God has deserted us. That peace doesn't come from our circumstances. In fact, if our peace depends on our circumstances, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. Because what if life's struggles aren't evidence that God has abandoned us? What if peace isn't the absence of struggle, as much as we kind of think it is? Jesus says, I'm telling you all this stuff, all this bad stuff that's going to happen, all the stuff that's saying you're going to do that you would say you would never do. Because you're going to be afraid, you're going to be lost. I'm telling you this so that you can have peace in the midst of those terrible, terrible feelings you're going to feel. And it's a reminder to not only to them, but to all of us that troubles don't destroy our faith. They simply reveal what it's built on. What actually can be a gift, if you think about it. Again, it's about engaging that pain, right? We could, kind of not have stood up like we said, not have said what we thought we should say or done what we thought we should have done in the moment, right? And look back and feel bad about it. But maybe that's that revealing that maybe we aren't as strong, as committed as we thought we were. Is a gift to know that, maybe we need to rethink this thing. In this world, you will have trouble. But Jesus says, but be brave. Take heart. Have some courage in this. As hard as it seems, have some courage in this because I have overcome the world. And here's the thing I want you to just ponder for just a moment. What if Jesus overcame it by choosing the pain that was worth suffering for? Because we know when he says this, right? He's I've overcome the world, that just hours later, he's going to die, right? Which for some of us, especially if you're not a religious person, especially not a Jesus follower, you're going to be like, how does that beat overcoming? How does dying mean you've overcome the world? It sounds like the world won. But Jesus said, no, the world didn't win because I chose the pain that was worth suffering for. I chose the pain to die so that you and I don't have to die for our sins. I think the person who wrote the part of our Bible called Hebrews, it's the part of the New Testament that was written directly to Jewish people because it touches on so many things from their faith system. I think this person captured this whole idea about choosing the pain that was worth suffering for in such great language. Here's what it says over in Hebrews chapter 12. In writing them, he says, listen, since we're surrounded by a great cloud of people whose lives tell us what faith means, since we're surrounded, he's gone through this list of all these famous people of faith. But I think we could argue even in this kind of situation, now, since we're surrounded by this group of people whose life tells us what faith means, because there's lots of great faith stories in this room today. Let us, he says, because we're surrounded by them, let us run the race that is before us with endurance, with perseverance. Let's stick with it. Let's push through the pain. Let us remove from our lives, that is, get rid of, cast aside anything that impedes, that hinders us, and the sin that so easily holds us back and that entangles us. And I want you to notice something. There's really something important about that statement. And that's simply this, that not everything that impedes us is a sin. And sometimes we're like, I got this sin, I just need to get it out of my life, I need better habits, right? Sometimes that's a thing, but sometimes there's other stuff that impedes us. Sometimes it's just the stuff that piles up in our lives over time. I'm guessing if you're anything like me, you have some spaces in your house, whether it's a closet, maybe you were fortunate to have a garage, maybe you're fortunate to have a garage that you actually can put a car in. But you have a place that you kind of pile all your stuff, right? And it gets piled up in there and you forget. In fact, sometimes it's kind of like a gift going in there because you discover stuff, I forgot I even had that, right? It's like I got something brand new. But sometimes stuff just piles up in our lives and that's what impedes us. Things that once helped but now don't. How we used to always do it and always seemed to work, but now it doesn't seem to work the same way, but we still hold on to that idea because it worked before. Expectations that were never reasonable, but somehow we thought that was an expectation, a valid expectation. Things that we can't seem to let go of, no matter how hard we try. Maybe it's that bitterness that just feels so justified in our lives. If you knew my story of why I'm so bitter about them, you would understand my story. There's those regrets that keep playing and replaying in our lives. Sometimes it's our past that won't stay past, that keeps popping up in our present, that ruins our future. What if this is about getting rid of the stuff that's making it harder than it has to be? When he says, let's run this race, right? And let's get rid of all this stuff. Because it's a great reminder that pain is inevitable. Because Jesus said, in this world you're going to have, thank you, right? That's important. You need to say that. In this world, you will have trouble. You're going to have pain because that's inevitable. Jesus says that's what's going to happen. But unnecessary pain is optional. Sometimes we forget that as well. But the author of Hebrews wasn't done yet. He says, let us keep our eyes on Jesus, the one who began, the founder of this faith, and who makes it perfect, who completes it, the one who's going to complete this faith in us. That it's not up to us, it's up to him. It's up to us just simply to keep following him. He, talking about Jesus, suffered death, that he endured the cross, accepting the shame as if it were nothing because of the joy that lay ahead of him. And now he is sitting at the right side, the right hand of God's throne. So he says, okay, here's what I need you to do. I need you to think about Jesus. Think about Jesus who endured such hostility, such opposition from sinful people. Now, you may not like the word sinful there, but the reality is we're kind of all sinful people, right? But there were some people that were out to get Jesus and they got Jesus. And think about Jesus who endured all that. And he endured all that so that you will not get tired, not get discouraged, and not stop trying, not give up. See, Jesus didn't avoid pain and suffering. He simply chose it because it mattered. And what if? What if Jesus chose that pain so we wouldn't have to face ours alone? Because just in a couple of minutes, we're going to do this thing called communion together. And if you're not kind of coming from maybe a religious setting or a particular religion setting, we may do it a little different than yours. This is just a chance that we take occasion to stop and remind ourselves, and in a very tangible way, reconnect with this thousands of years old story of what Jesus did to celebrate what this author of Hebrews wrote about. Because the reality is, communion reminds us that Jesus didn't promise a painless future. He promised a hopeful one. And so in just a moment, the singers are going to come forward here. They're going to get into place. The deacons are going to come down. Some guys will excuse you. I want you, everybody, we're going to start in the back. You're going to go to your left, come down the aisle. There'll be a table here, a table over there, a table there. Everybody goes to the left, comes down, goes back around, back to your place. And we're going to make this kind of work. And while we do that, we're going to have a chance to just sing some songs, remind ourselves again of what this day is all about.
You bore so I could live. exalted high, and the train of his robe filled the temple, and the angels circled round him, and they cried, "You are holy, oh so holy. You are holy, Lord of Sing it out. You are holy, oh so holy. You are holy, Lord we cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy. Is the
On the night when the Lord Jesus was betrayed, he took bread and he gave thanks for it. Then he broke the bread and said, "This is my body. It is broken for you. Do this to remember me." To remember that it was broken on purpose, that it was broken for a reason. It's broken for you. Take it. In the same way, after they ate, Jesus took the cup and he said, this cup is the new agreement, the new covenant. It wasn't not a new calendar, but a new context for people. A new agreement was made. An agreement not based on our promises, our hopes, or our resolutions, but one based on what Jesus did for us. This cup is the new agreement, the new covenant that is sealed with the blood of my death. It is sealed on a life, a death, a resurrection that makes full life possible. When you do this, when you drink this, do it to remember me. This cup and this whole service is a tangible reminder that forgiveness costs. That communion reminds us that we can experience a meaningful life in the midst of a less than pain-free life. That pain can help us clarify what actually matters in life, if we let it. So let's close on this thought. What if a fuller life is a result of choosing to engage our pain, to embrace it? Something worth thinking about today.